We're gonna talk about money. We're gonna talk about money. Okay, no, seriously, we are talking about money today. Hi guys, thank you so much for watching. You are in the right place if you're an entrepreneur with a purpose and you're watching Socialife. So I know this is a question from a lot of you, but I did get a question from Tyrae, and the question is, where does my salary and funding come from? So I thought this is a great time to talk about my tips to raise funds and how to draw a salary from your organization. Tyrae, I've got a whole list of things for you. I've got about 5 things that I want to talk to you about. But first, I really want to start with, you know what, if you are just starting out, I just want to be, I'm all about real talk. So I want to be straight up with you. If you're just starting out, you are probably not going to be drawing a salary very soon. So it took my organization probably about 4 years maybe before I could even start drawing any sort of a salary, which I don't take personally. I pay someone to actually help me with the organization. And I never recommend people to stop working, and I never recommend that people just quit their job and dive in head first. Now, there are caveats to that. If you are part of a dual income household and you and your spouse have decided that you can stop work and you're able to really focus on this 100%, you can obviously accelerate when you're going to start receiving a salary, because you're able to focus most of your time and effort on raising funds for your nonprofit and spreading your mission and your purpose and letting people know what it's all about and connecting with your sponsors. And if you haven't seen that video on how to connect with your sponsors, I will have that linked above. You really want to focus on how you're going to build in the different revenue streams that it's going to take for you to actually build enough funding for your nonprofit in order for you to draw a salary. So first off, I would recommend looking at how much you want to make in a salary from your nonprofit. Like, are you talking, $30,000 a year, $60,000 a year, just like a stipend that you're asking for? How much are you actually looking to draw? And are you starting this nonprofit in order to draw a salary? Because if you are, the way that you're going to structure your nonprofit is going to be much different than like perhaps the way I structure my nonprofit. So that's number one. You really need to write out like what you're looking for. The next thing you need to do is you need to benchmark your duties that you do in your nonprofit, your job description as an executive director, what you do in your nonprofit. And I've already done a video on this, and I will link that above as well, how to get a salary, and I have videos on that. So today I really wanted to focus on, these are ways that you can actually raise enough funds in order for you to draw a salary. So here we go. Starting with number 1, I want you to first realize that 70% of all donations come from individuals. Let that sink in. They all come from individuals. So, 70% of your funds of your organization are going to come from individuals. So you really need to have a strategy on how you want to connect your brand for individuals to want to donate to your organization. And really, that is also social proof to you as to whether your organization is needed in the community, or if it's a high enough priority that people want to donate to what you're doing. Maybe people aren't donating because they don't understand, what your organization is all about, or maybe your messaging isn't clear enough as to what your purpose is, or maybe you aren't speaking to the right people. And all of these things can really really mess up your fundraising. And so you want to make sure all of those are clear. You want to make sure that you spend majority of your efforts on those individuals, rather than a lot of people go to look for grants and they're looking for big sponsorships, like hundreds of thousands of dollars, or they're trying to get federal grants, or they want the schools to pay them, or all of these things. But all of those things require a little extra work, and they require you to sometimes be in business with your 501c3 for at least 2 years or more. and they really want to see that you have a viable nonprofit that would work even if you didn't have their funds. So that's why I try to encourage people not to focus so much on how they're going to get paid, even though you do need to know that if running that nonprofit is going to be your sole job or your sole income. My second tip is that if you know that 70% of your funds are coming from individuals, then your goal should always be to be consistently attracting new customers, right? You always want to be attracting new individuals so that you can constantly be raising the amount of funds that you're raising. So if you're going to focus on that, I would recommend that you, like I said in a previous video, cast a wide net, but focus on the individuals that are right around you. Focus on how can I get people in the room to give them a presentation, to show them exactly what I do. One of the first things I ever did was to create a presentation for 20 people, and they were friends and family and people in my community that I thought would support my organization or that aligned with what my purpose was. And I invited them into a room and I gave them a presentation on what I thought my organization could do. I had already sponsored one child, and I used that as kind of like, this is the pilot and this is what I'm trying to do. This is how it would work, and here are the results I think I could achieve. And from those people, and in that, in that room of 20 people, I had people who said, hey, I want to join your board. I have people who said, I know some people who would be really interested in partnering with you. I know some people who would really love to support your organization. Hey, let's get you into some schools. There was so much good feedback from it. And I think we negate the fact that there are a lot of people around you who are good resources that we think we have to go out into the public and, go to Target and ask them to sponsor our program. Like, you don't need to start at Target. You don't need to start at the federal government to give you funds or big grants. You need to start with the individuals who are right around you and who already support what you're doing and who you are. And you have to remember that you are the business, you are the brand. So people need to know you first, and they need to understand, what you're all about and that you're trustworthy. They already like you, all of those things, so that they can then decide that they're going to support you. It's a lot easier to support you. So if you think about the 70% individuals as low-hanging fruit, this is what like Charity Navigator, types of places that bring in information from all nonprofits across the US. This is the type of statistics that they are giving you. So I think the actual number is about 72% of all funds that go into nonprofits are from individuals. So people who really believe in your mission and your vision, they are going to support you. People can be extremely generous, more generous than you would ever believe. If they can identify what your purpose and your mission are, and if it aligns with what they already give to and what they already want to support. So remember that. Now, when I say cast a wide net, I mean host events, host challenges. One of the first challenges that I did and that I still do is I said, nominate a teacher, and actually that comes up pretty soon here. But I put up nominate a teacher, and teachers are an integral part of our business and our model for our nonprofit. And so I thought, what? We should just have people recognize teachers. Everybody loves a teacher. We have a special teacher that we all love. And if there was a contest out there to nominate a teacher, I would totally do that. Your prize doesn't have to be something huge. Your prize can grow as you get larger. Your prize can be sponsored by one specific business or one specific person who wants to give $100, and then you say, hey, here's $100 for the winner of my challenge, and it was sponsored by so-and-so. So really focus on getting your marketing efforts up and running, and host challenges, host an event. The event could be for those 20 people that you're going to invite, and maybe you ask them if they can pay $5 to come to your event. Be creative. Like, there's no limit on what you're able to do. So you just have to be creative and know what's going to work best for your organization and for your demographic of people that you're working with. So that's why I always say, that's why I say to really focus on who your target customer is. You need to know who that person is in order for you to really get these things off the ground. In order to host an event, in order to host a challenge, you need to know who your demographic is that you're talking to. And if you don't know who those people are, I have my download that I've created for you to target your perfect customer and attract that person to your organization. And I show you exactly how to do that, and the questions you need to ask and answer, and the information you need to know in order for you to find those perfect people and create your message around all of that. So if you're at that point where you want to start hosting an event, or you want to start creating an event or a challenge or something like that, but you don't know who you should be talking to, or you want to get more clear on who you should talk to, then go ahead and download that. It's in the link down below in the description box. So yeah, I mean, a lot of these things you're going to really need to hone in on who that customer is, like who you're talking to. Because if you're not talking to like one specific person, you're kind of not talking to anybody. So you really need to know who you're talking to. And this is a principle that works for any business. And I think it's probably the most important piece of any business, even before, you know, the mode of communication, which I always say should be your newsletter. You need to know who you're going to be talking to on that newsletter, or who you're going to be talking to on social media. Who is your information directed to? So if you aren't clear on who that is, go ahead and get that download and start working on that. And let me know what you think about that in this video as well. So the next thing is to create your salary. You have something called admin fees, administration fees. Every organization has administration fees, and generally it's about 30 to 40% of your full income that comes in. This is the funding that's going to actually pay for, you know, the printing paper, the postage, anything that's related to really running your organization, your rent, all of the things that are related to running your organization. And one of those things related to running your organization is, dun, da, da, it's you. So you have to be able to pay yourself as well. Now, generally, as long as you're pretty open about what you're doing with your funds and why they're being taken out, people are very understanding of that. People don't like to be duped. So it's very important that you're very clear and very transparent about what you're doing with those funds. So for my organization, we take out a 10% fee for every donation that comes through for a child. And that 10% fee goes into our admin fees. Those admin fees are there what we use to keep the program running. Whether that is paying someone to help run the organization, or paying myself, or buying paper, or whatever it goes to. And like I've said in previous videos, I don't pay myself just because I'm in a position where I don't need to do that, but I do pay someone else to help me run the organization. So that person acts as the executive director. So I'm the founder and executive director, but this person would maybe be like a co-executive director, as they do a lot of things in the program to make it work, and I am paying them from the program in order to do that. The next thing I want you to remember is that you also have to have your income approved by your board. So you don't just get to like snap your fingers and say, I want to make $30,000, or I want to make, you know, however much you want to make from your organization. You need to have that approved by your board. That's why at the beginning of the video, I said you really need to benchmark your job description, because even though you may do a lot of things, if your job description comes out to be more like a secretary, then you would be doing secretarial work, and that would be something that you would benchmark your salary against. Now, if you're doing something that requires a lot more work, say you're doing the marketing, you're doing the secretarial work, you're doing the driving, the transportation of kids, or whatever it is, you're managing events, project management, whatever it is, all of those things would go into your job description, and then you and your board would decide a reasonable salary that would go along with that job description. So it's really important to realize that this is a process, and generally within the first 2 years of starting a nonprofit, I would say that you probably likely will not get paid unless you're bringing in a ton of money and you've gotten all of your structures for your organization in order, and you're just killing it. And I think that's great if you are, but I just want to be realistic for all of you that if you are starting a nonprofit, just as if you were starting a for-profit business, you still have overhead expenses that need to be paid. You still have, if you were creating a widget, you would still need to be able to pay for the widget, and you need a customer to be able to pay for that widget plus your overhead in order to make the business work. So this is no different than running a for-profit business. It's just that the way that you're selling your widget is you're selling your purpose, you're selling your mission. You have to make people connect with that, and you have to make them want to separate with their funds because they need it. They need to help this child, be saved from trafficking, or they need to help kids have a place to go, a teen center, or whatever it is. You have to make your job as the executive director is to make your mission connect with your sponsor. That is your job. And so I feel like a lot of times we hear information like, oh yeah, just go out and fundraise. You have to fundraise. You have to get grants. You have to get sponsorships. But in order to do that, and in order to make people really connect with your nonprofit, you have to show them why it's important. Okay? Just like every other business has to show why you need the next Jordans, or why you want to have whatever it is, the best earrings, whatever they are. The onus is on the business owner to find the right marketing, the right message for you to hear in order for you to make that purchase. So the next tip would be to look for smaller grants in your areas. Grants and sponsorships, those words can be used interchangeably, and you want to look for those types of things in your area. So you might have an RFP, which is a request for proposals, and those are from different organizations in your area that are asking for you to put in a proposal so that you can apply for a grant. So basically it's an application telling them what your program is about and why you need the funds, what would you do with the funds, all of those types of things. And they lay it all out for you, and as long as you follow the directions on there and you qualify for the grant, I would absolutely go for it. But I would start with smaller grants and smaller sponsorships, and make sure you read the fine print, because sometimes they do say that you need to have your 501c3 status for at least 2 years in order to apply for these types of things. You can also link on to bigger events that happen in your organization, in your community, some sort of Giving Tuesday event that you can latch onto from your community, and then they do a lot of the marketing and you help do your own marketing. But again, that's something that you need to at least have your 501c3 status for 2 years. So if you don't have your 501c3 status for 2 years, the best place to start is with the individuals and really focus your efforts there. Like, be huge on social media, focus on social media, get to know who your customer is. Use this time to really build the strategy for your marketing efforts, and really kind of create your own microcosm of ambassadors and people who support you and people who want to attend your events. You just have to be really creative. You have to just start. And sometimes it's going to fail and you're going to be like, okay, won't do that next year. And sometimes it's going to be a hit and you'll be like, okay, I'm going to do this again next year because it worked. And get feedback. Understand, it's a learning process, really and truly. I have no silver bullet for you. It's just a learning process, and you have to really get dirty. You got to get down in it and get creative and try things and pivot and just start. And I say that all the time, but I mean it. The last thing I want to say is partnerships. Partnerships are huge. If you can find a partnership, even if it's for $250 for an organization that wants to support you, show that you're willing to put in the work to help market them, to help advertise for them. If they'll help you, sponsor a kid. Your goal is to get results. That is your whole goal, okay? And however you need to get results and however you need to find your partnerships working together, like find how you can help them and how they can help you and make it a win-win situation for both of you, that's what a partnership is all about. So really, you can start looking at that too. Now, I will tell you these last two things, the grants and sponsorships and the partnerships, those are a little bit more involved. And so I really would, again, I would just tell you to focus on the 70% of your, use 80% of your work and your time on those 70% of people, the individuals. So just really focus on that. Leverage social media, leverage your community, leverage the people around you. Really focus on helping people connect to your nonprofit. So if your goal is to raise funds and create a salary for your nonprofit, I just gave you 5 good tips on how you can get started on raising funds that will allow you to connect with your sponsor, that will allow you to look for ways that you can connect with your community, create partnerships, things like that. And really, you need to know your customer. That's the most important piece of this. And so if you don't know who that is, go ahead and get the download and get started on that so that you can really start. Once you know your customer, it's so much easier to market. It's so much easier to brand. It's so much easier to write your newsletters. It's so much easier to do everything. This is really the base of everything. So go ahead and get that download if you haven't already on a previous video. And remember that majority of the people are individuals, so you really want to focus on that. And transparency is key. When you start to draw a salary, you have to be transparent. You have to let people know, hey, this is where that 10% goes to. And you don't have to say it every time, but at least have it on your website. Maybe when you start it, put it in your newsletter, whatever it is. But you want to let people know why you take out that 10% and where that money goes. So that's all I would recommend. Those are my tips for how to raise funds and draw a salary for your nonprofit. So if you have been fundraising and you haven't been raising the funds that you want to do, try some of these and let me know how it works out. So I hope this video helped you, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and get out there and unleash your something amazing. Bye, guys.